Good morning. It's May the 14th, 2024. I want to give you a quick abbreviated history on why Canada Post, a lot of supervisors are, let's not be too polite, dicks. Okay? When I started in 81, it was a transition from the retirement of the military people that were promised jobs after the Second World War. And they were pretty nasty. They were, well, you know what I mean, authoritarian military types. And by time 81 rolled around, they were retiring. So in comes a normal group of people looking for a job as a supervisor. Or they might have been carrier's mate supervisor. The rules were different. We had a different set of rules. We had the rule on attendance counseling, but you'd go in and we called it a dance where they say, you plan on showing up to work only if I'm not sick. Well, you tell me not to be sick. I mean, it just went on, and then they all yuck it up and then leave. That was it. That was these weren't mean because there was no incentive for them to be a mean person. There was nothing in it for them to be good or bad. Well, good they had something because at least you know if you needed them to pick them up a coffee on the way back from your route, that's fine. But normally it was a pretty good relationship, I would think. The clerks upstairs from where we were, a whole different story. They were complete supervisors, were just nasty to clerks. It was almost like a slave and master kind of relationship the Canada Post was looking for there. Very different, and it was a whole era of I guess we could say sexual harassment and stuff from bosses. There was all kinds of stuff going on back then. It was just weird. It was a weird time. Some stations I've been to in the last few years, it seems like a replay of that whole time. But anyhow, we'll leave that alone too. So what happened was we started rolling into Canada Post. We have different governments. They played football with us. Like you want to see how tough we are, watch me kick the postal workers around, and that's the way it went. And we accepted that that's the way it was, and we bargained based on that. Now, there was two separate, well, it was more than two separate, but there was two big unions, was the letter carriers union and the clerks union, which was CUPW. So it was two different unions which striked at different times, along with office workers that striked at a different time, and it all went on. So anyhow, looking back, I think it was around, 1987, when we moved from 81 to 87, it gradually got worse. And Canada Post was looking for, I guess they were moving into a Crown Corporation idea with having somebody run Canada Post. They had Donald Landers. I'm sure people will cut in and say what the real facts were, but I can't remember them exactly. That was a long time ago. Lots of poison under the bridge by now. So anyhow, they picked up this guy, Donald Landers. Well, Donald Landers, he used to be the guy that caused a lot of problems at Chrysler, and a lot of strikes at Chrysler Canada. And then he got involved with DeLorean, whose business was shut down because he was packing the fenders and the bumpers and everything full of cocaine for Montreal. So I think it was the Montreal shipment thing. So anyhow, they said, wow, there's a guy we need. Yeah, this is a great, fantastic guy. That man was kind of nasty. He was a nasty man, heartless. And I guess as they moved into the Crown Corporation stuff, and I don't know, it was a Crown Corporation taking baby steps. So there was everything from upping the harassment for sick time to try and get the hours down. There was mentality on flyers. And there was also, I think it was at the time and moving into a time when Mulroney was around, and that was 87. Mulroney was prime minister, but they were working on getting rid of the subsidies for newspapers, magazines, bulk mailers, and I mean it was nothing for a carrier to have 16 to 20 bags of mail every day because it included double trips back to a box because of the weights. It was just kind of chaotic. But anyhow, it was just part of it. So we're no different than you are right now. We just had a different structure, right? It was, instead of now of having many miles on the road, we had all kinds of magazines and books and records and CDs and you name it. They could ship it through the mail for peanuts. So anyhow, moving into that, what they decided, now this was, I can't remember if it was just under Mulrooney or it was Landers. They were all connected. It was all connected theme back then. But this is what happened. They said, well, what is it we need to know about the relationship between the employees and the supervisor? Why we can't get this whole thing in order with the attendance harassment, or they called it attendance management. Well, the bottom line was there was no incentive for them to go after you other than giving the mandatory talk. So they developed a formula where supervisors, they gave every station a imaginary budget. No rhyme, no reason what the budget was. It is based on who the hell knows. So that budget, if they met the budget, they would get to, or got under budget, they would get to share the top, right? The extra money they saved, they got to share it. So there was an incentive for them to harass you because they know that at that time everybody was taking all kinds of sick time, probably because they're sick. But what happened was every year they get their budget, the bar for the reward was getting higher and higher because now when you made your budget was 30,000 and you got it at under in 25. Well, now the next year you got 25,000, so now you got to knock it down to 20. So eventually, where you are right today is for supervisors, they get a mandatory bonus. They get all kinds of other sneaky bonuses, but what they got was they started losing the incentive for the station, because every time they cut and cut and cut, the overtime started to rise. So it was kind of like up and down, up and down. So that's where all this hostility comes in, is that they decided we're going to give you incentives to harass people, to treat them like garbage. And that's what they did. This is a short history on it. But the other thing they did, and I think I've said this before, was around the same time, in 87 strike, they said, we want to get people to use their vehicles. We don't have to pay for cabs anymore. The whole thing, the vehicle, and then they'll start sneaking their bags out and we can get rid of the urban drivers that drop the bags off. So they had a structured plan. So they said, you got to stop harassing carriers over using their vehicles. And which they did. They stopped harassing them because they know that when you, if you just left them alone and observed them, you'd know what they're doing. And then you can say, you know what, I'm in your corner. I think you should be able to use your vehicle. But that was the big strike in 87. And one of the big issues was they wanted to use their vehicle. It was a demand from Canada Post because they knew that the carriers all talked about it to the supervisors. Why can't I use my car? Because first of all, you make a taxi driver unemployed because, multiply you times everybody in the station that had a cab. A lot of cabbies got laid off because of that clause. So the one thing that carriers, it's nothing new with your generation, it's everybody, is they couldn't, unless you were involved in a union and took a lot of seminars to fully understand your job, you couldn't figure out the relationship between the cut that Canada Post did or the things you're asking to do and the end result of how it affected your co-workers, the building, and other companies around you. So there was that missing link in there. But yeah, Canada Post, even today, observe you. They might say, oh, you're not working overtime, blah, blah, blah. It's illegal to tell you they're not going to pay you for working. That's illegal. Read the labor code on that one. They may try and harass you, go ahead. They may try and suspend you, go ahead. But they cannot not pay you. This isn't a third world country. So fully understand your superimposing clause. Kind of, if you all can, I'd really appreciate it if you take a course of some sort. And if you're in a big local and you can get a gathering of 25, 30 people that want to take a course, national or regional may send someone in to do it for you. Like do a course, just specifically what you're looking for. So it's very helpful because A lot of folks don't understand the relationship between the flyers, the mail, and your jobs right now. Your job now, I go pick up my mail, I go to a post office box in Ladysmith. I don't get delivery, not even to a CMB. So I pick up my mail, and you know what's there? Every day, maybe once a day, I'll get a letter, and it's only someone saying, "Do you want to try one of our special credit cards or Uber Eats or something?" That in a letter, that's it. The rest of it is junk mail. So subtract the junk mail, and what do you have left? They'll say, "Yeah, okay, so your percentage of coverage would be about 10% of your walk." So that means they can take that 10% and make huge walks and give you a vehicle. So you think, well, I can get rid of the problem by saying get rid of the flyers? No, you create another problem. So hopefully people that want to show an interest in getting a little more educated and understanding the negotiations, meetings that come up before negotiations, you have a right to participate in your local and send things forward to the regional office. Same with your constitution. If there's something in there you don't like in your constitution, you have an opportunity to speak up at your meeting, and the reps that you send to your regional for a conference, they speak up on your behalf, and it's dealt with. But you can't sit back and say, they never do anything for me. What do you do for your union? Yeah, you think, I'm paying, I don't know what it is now, $100 or something. Big deal. I was happy to pay $100. It mentioned as a tax deduction, right? So you look at that and you say, okay, so what have you done for your union? Shop stewards are looking for someone who saw something and they go, I didn't see anything. Then you got the ones in the crowd that go, well, I was going to talk to the boss, I don't think what he's doing to me is fair. I was so mad, I was going to say something. And I'd say, wow, you were going to say something? Ooh. That's what you end up with when you don't understand your rights. You might think, well, he says, I was postal workers were militant. If you call demanding your rights in the collective agreement that both parties signed, then yeah, we're militants. Because Canada Post acts like they didn't sign anything, and they don't have any rules to follow in the collective agreement. They have all that stuff to follow. So if they don't do it, they're violating you. Just like if a bank, if they change the mortgage rate on you halfway through your mortgage, you'd go in there and kicking and screaming. You wouldn't say, I'm so mad I'm going to say something, maybe. No, you go in and say something. Act like it's your mortgage and they're changing your rate, or you have a legal document and something's been changed without your permission or consultation, then you go in and talk to that boss. But anyhow, I hope, I don't know if I helped you any, but some people wondered why bosses are so mean and aggressive at the post office. They never were really. They were aggressive with the clerks. All started with the military people coming back from war, and they gave them jobs, and they became supervisors and managers, and some of them were really bad, like military type. But let me check your fingernails before you go out and stuff. But the letter carriers were kind of pampered because they say, they can go out and they're the bottom end result of everything we're doing in the building. So they kind of pampered them, and then they realized, wait a minute, that's where, now that I'm on a fixed budget in the station, those are the people causing my problem, right? Because you have that work incentive to go home after you've finished. Well, people took advantage of that. Now look where you are. You're even worse. You were better off out working your ass off every day doing 20 relay bags to less homes than you are now. So take some courses, please, and fully understand your rights in the collective agreement, because you have to be informed. If you plan on staying at Canada Post for a long time, the union contract in your constitution is part of your work description and part of your union that you belong to. So anyhow, that's it. You have a wonderful day, and hope things go well for you folks. It's always a struggle, but you know what? The worst has already happened. As soon as they throw that, Canada Post puts out their demands, the worst is already, that'll be the worst. It's already happened. Work backwards from there. Thank you very much, and have a good day.